I've been diagnosed with bipolar in the past, major depressive disorder, anxiety. I've had all of that medicated, right? I'm not on any medication. And I'm telling you that my anxiety, my depression is down at a 1 or a 2. Hello everybody, I want to talk to you today about nutrition. Now, I'm not talking about being a health buff, all right? I'm not talking about, eating your greens, blah, blah, blah. I am talking about medical grade antidepressant strength supplements that cure mental health problems. And we all need to know about this. We all deserve to know what options are out there, because I'm telling you, the right supplementation for you can be the difference between having clinical depression, anxiety, wanting to kill yourself, and being free from feelings of anxiety and depression. I mean, who's not going to want to try stuff like that? If you've been on antidepressants, or if you're on them now, I am going to make the bold claim that there are supplements out there that are better than your antidepressant. They're stronger, they make you feel instantly good, they don't interfere with your sleep, they don't have horrible side effects, and they're available really cheap. What prompted this video was I was watching this video about, it was between Gabor Mate and he was being interviewed. Gabor Mate, bless him, sometimes I look at his face and I feel depressed. No, that's really mean. He's done some great work. He talks about the mind and the body being connected and how trauma is stored in the body, this, that, and the other. But he also strikes me as the kind of person who is trapped in his own feelings. He explains all of this stuff, but then he's also saying things like how sensitive he is. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of good sensitivity that we all want to cultivate. I'm talking about not being able to cope with stress, not being able to emotionally cope. And it's not cognitive. He was, I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but it's just an example. But we've all done it. Let me just move on from him for a minute. We've all sort of felt anxious, and we've sort of pointed at why that is. I feel anxious because, and we're all encouraged to name our feelings and talk about our childhood traumas and all of this. And it's like, what if we started to just say, I feel anxious and I don't know why, or I feel anxious because my body right now isn't processing stress properly. If you have something that's pressing, so say if you've just stolen a bunch of money and you're about to get caught and you're in a fight or flight response, that's appropriate, right? But if it's the type of anxiety that you wake up with and it's just like every little thing, everything's making you feel anxious, going outside's making you feel anxious, getting out of bed making you feel anxious, your past is making you feel anxious, a meeting with your boss, which is weighing the future, is making you feel anxious. If you've got that going on, I suggest to you that you need to just supplement properly and make a few lifestyle changes, and you can at least have a break from those feelings, right? I'm going to read you the comment that I left on this video, right? Because I just feel like people are being so disempowered. Just excuse me a minute while I find it. So it was in response to this psychiatrist, he still hasn't found a way to right size the bad things that happened to him, right? I've got to tread carefully with this. I sound incredibly unempathetic. He was describing his stress, and then he was describing what had happened to cause that stress, right? As if his feelings and the source of stress were directly correlated. Like, yeah, this happened and I felt like this. I couldn't cope with the feelings because this happened. And then he cognitively framed it. He said, the main thing that I was upset about was the fact that I wasn't being seen. And it's like, okay, well, that's the cognitive framing. However, you still have failed to establish how your fight or flight feelings are linked to the experience that you're not being seen. You're still not able to link those two things, right? If I have a fight or flight response and there's a lion attacking me, I can justify my anxiety, my fight or flight response. I can go, there was a lion attacking me. I went into fight or flight mode so that I could quickly escape, right? That's a direct correlation that makes sense. If you're saying, you know, I had this altercation with my boss today and I abandoned myself because you know, I told him that I would work next week when I really should have said no, and I'm so stressed out about it, and this all comes from my childhood when I felt like I wasn't allowed to say no and I don't want to get out of bed, right? That's not a logically sound correlation. It sounds like it, right? Especially when you're in it. You're like, I wouldn't be feeling like this if that hadn't have happened. True. However, it is entirely possible for that to have happened and for you not to feel the way you feel. Do you see what I mean? Our bodies, and especially as we get older, for whatever reason, we are losing our natural ability to process stress, right? So you should have a fight or flight response, and then a few minutes later, you should calm down, you do a bit of exercise and get rid of the excess cortisol, you're back to normal, right? It shouldn't be that you're ruminating on the source of that stress for days. It shouldn't be that the next day you have to stay in bed because your system is just flooded with cortisol. More and more, I'm thinking that it's not normal for us to ever have high levels of stress and anxiety in our bodies, even low levels. In AA, they call it restless, irritable, and discontent. Do you relate to this feeling? You're sitting there. What next? What next? What next? What next? Especially if you're either trying to quit drinking or you're an ex-alcoholic, right? This feeling, hunger. All right, cigarette, cup of tea, go on the computer. Hunger, hunger, hunger. It's like chasing something. What are you chasing? What are you craving? It's like a craving feeling for no reason, right? Restless, irritable, discontent, as they call it in AA. Or it's our body's inability to adapt and to cope properly with either stress or lack of stimuli or any number of negative emotions. And I'm telling you, you don't have to live like that, okay? I'll just read you this comment that I put under this video. I've said here, you can literally cure your anxiety with the right supplementation and nutrients. TMG, methyl folate, SAMe, etc. I'm going to go into that in a bit. Test for ferritin and D deficiencies. Most of our bodies are not functioning optimally, and we believe our anxiety and overthinking is caused in the mind when it's actually the body. Yes, things like not being seen hurts, but it hurts way less when the body and the neurology, that's your brain chemicals, you know, hormones and things like dopamine, serotonin, GABA, etc. When the neurology is working correctly. They found that 10 minutes of touch helps brain development, because this is Gabor Mate was saying, the link between nurturing infants and proper brain development has been established, because they found that just stroking the backs of these babies in incubators allowed their brains to develop properly. Okay, which that's proof of that, right? That we need touch to develop, we need nurturing to develop. They found that 10 minutes of touch helps brain development, but they are also insisting that most people have lacked enough healthy nurturing for proper brain development to occur. It's a mixed message, and it indicates that humans have lost the ability to cope with stress rather than we are all traumatized. Find out what your body needs and experiment. Do you see what I'm saying here? All right. I am saying, if he's saying they found a positive correlation between brain development in infants with just 10 minutes of touch per day, right? I'm not saying that's all the infant needs, but how is it that most people in this society, and let's be honest, most people in our society have had the basic needs met when we're infants, okay? Not all of us, right? And it's not perfect, and I'm not saying that our parents were perfect, but most of us were at least held every day, right? But then he's still insisting that our inability to cope with stress as we get older is directly related to our lack of nurturing, when they found that we need actually very little for the brain development to occur. There's something that's not checking out. This is why I'm saying, as we get older, our bodies just go into decline, right? We just get older. Now, I have Peter Pan syndrome, and I have refused to believe that I am going to fall into decay and disrepair as I get older. And I'm determined to be very, very healthy, right? So this is why I've gone on this rampage. And what triggered it off was I got sober, all right? Fine and dandy, okay? And then I was like, do you know what? Why am I stressed all the time? Why am I depressed all the time? Why am I suicidal? You know, why am I so negative? And I was like, I didn't get sober to feel like this, you know? And then I went down many rabbit holes. I got diagnosed with ADHD because I wanted to be diagnosed with it, because I wanted the drugs. So I made sure that I got diagnosed with it. I got the absolute strongest ADHD medication. I felt like it was literal speed. All right. And then it wore off. I lost about 3 stone. I believe it permanently messed up my metabolism, because when I came off it, I put loads of weight on. Excuse me. I've tried all the SSRIs out there, including all the different ones, the old style ones, the ones that work with the serotonin, the ones that work with the dopamine, all different ones, right? And I just refused to believe that that was my lot in life. It was like, okay, I'm eating pretty healthily. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not smoking. I'm going to bed at the right time. I'm going to the gym. Why do I still feel like crap? Why do I feel tired? I got diagnosed with POTS, which is an autoimmune disorder. And I was just like, I'm so sick of this. So I started to research. There are reasons for mental health problems and bodily problems like fatigue that are not, it's not a cognitive or a trauma thing. It's to do with our food. It's to do with what we eat. The fact that there's GMO crops and all of that. I'm not going to go into that though, right? Because that's not really where I wasn't particularly interested in that side of it, as much as there are things in your brain that supplements can replicate and boost, right? And when I found these particular supplements, it had it was like, it had a narcotic effect, That's all I can tell you. I went for a blood test the other day, and the inflammation in my body was nearly 0, right? And that's not nothing. At my age as well, that's an achievement and a half. I had all sorts of other things that were off, so I've had to start supplementing for those as well. It's not just about like vitamin A, vitamin D, B vitamins, this, that, and the other. It's about amino acids and nootropics, which are herbal supplements that have been used for many years. It's about finding the right dosage, which is often many, many times more than people will recommend and companies will recommend. And it's about keeping track of your bloods and seeing what's going up and down, and then keep tinkering with it. Right? So, and there's also the genetic component. At the risk of giving misinformation, I'm just telling you my experience. I'm not a doctor, and I'm certainly not an expert at this stuff. I'm very new to it. There is a gene called the MTHFR gene, I believe. That gene is responsible for making your body use nutrients in an efficient way. That's basically in a nutshell, and I'm sure somebody will come in and correct me. That gene mutates and stops working correctly in up to 50% of people. So it's likely that you have this genetic mutation, right? I haven't done the genetic testing myself. There's other ones as well. When I've read about the symptoms of it and I've supplemented for myself as if I have that gene mutation, everything has got better, right? So it's been a case of experimenting, not necessarily doing all of the testing. But, okay, so the nutrition goes in. Your body, in a process called methylation, takes those nutrients. This gene is responsible for making your body take those nutrients and kind of ration them out to all different parts of the body. So your organs get this is very, very basic, right? But it's how I'm understanding it. Your organs will get some, like your blood will get some, your system that supports like your thyroid function will get some, your brain gets some, right? If those nutrients, because of this genetic deficiency, are not being distributed properly, your body's not using the nutrients, right? It doesn't matter what you're putting in. They're not being utilized. There's so much learning here, right? Everybody who I've helped with this, everybody who I've recommended to take these supplements has been like, wow, right? This is why it's not nothing. It's really important. So it all started when me and my husband found this article on maca root, right? It was just a funny article about how it makes the penis bigger, right? And I was like, well, where does that come from then? So I started reading up about it, and it was like, oh, maca root, it's an adaptogen, right? Okay, well, what's an adaptogen? An adaptogen is a herbal thing. This is, I think, Peruvian ginseng is maca root. I think it's one and the same thing. You put it in the body, stress hormones happen. And you have an adaptogen in your body, it takes the stress hormones and it flings them out. It literally helps your body to adapt to stress, right? So I ordered some maca root from my supplement source, which is a company called British Supplements. They are really strong supplements and they're really high quality. There's no fillers, anything like that. I ordered the maca root. I also was interested in balancing my hormones, and I was reading that maca root was good for balancing the hormones. Now, I'm 40 years old, okay? I kept testing my, whether I still had the pregnancy hormone. Every month I was testing for the pregnancy hormone to see if it was possible for me to get pregnant. It kept coming up negative, and I was having menopausal symptoms, and I was like, damn, okay, I'm probably going through early menopause, or it's perimenopause or whatsoever. Now, whether this is correlated or not, 2 weeks after taking this maca root, the faint line on the hormone test, the faint line started to appear. So my pregnancy hormone was rising in my blood, all right? And then the next month I took the test again, and the pregnancy hormone was fully there, like the line was fully visible. And then the week later I was pregnant. Whether that's down to the maca root, it kind of feels like it was. It all, you know, all happened at the same time. Aside from that, some side effects that happened with the maca root that I didn't know, it gave me a sustained source of energy throughout the day without being that sort of jittery energy. I would say on most days my anxiety probably averages around a 6 out of 10, and it can go up to an 8, sometimes a 9, but it always stays sort of above the 6 kind of area. The maca root took it down to, I'm not joking, a 1 or even a 0, right? I then started reading more deeply about what maca root does, and apparently it gives you dopamine. It does something to the dopamine. It stops the dopamine from being washed out. It keeps recycling the dopamine. But it wasn't in that sort of jittery, like craving a coffee, craving a this, that, and the other sort of way. Like, what shall I do next? It wasn't like that. It was sustained energy, chilled, right? Also thins the blood, so which means I can't take it now during pregnancy, but that's fine. So that was the supplement that made me think, there are actually things out there that I can take that are strong enough to have an effect on my anxiety, right? I noticed that my rumination calmed down a hell of a lot. Even when I look at the first videos that I made on this channel, I can still see how I was kind of ruminating and overthinky, right? That's completely gone. I mean, completely gone. I'm not saying this is going to work for you. What I'm saying is that there are things that will work, right? I also started taking TMG. TMG is a miracle supplement. It's an amino acid, right? It stands for trimethylglycerine, something like that. Anyway, works with the serotonin. Anxiety at a 1 or a 0. And I'm an anxiety riddled person. I mean, I had an alcohol addiction. You know, it's not like I'm an average person. It's not like I'm a sort of relatively chilled person. I'm extremely anxious to the point where I've been in lots of therapy. I've, you know, seen psychiatrists. I've been diagnosed with bipolar in the past, major depressive disorder, anxiety. I've had all of that medicated, right? I'm not on any medication. And I'm telling you that my anxiety, my depression is down at a 1 or a 2. Consistently as well, all right? TMG is the magic supplement. My husband is an anxiety person. He's one of those high achiever types who his self-worth is wrapped up in his achievements. Very, very lots of negative emotion, you know. He started taking the TMG and methyl folate as well, which I'll go into, and he's like a different person. He's more silly, just super chilled, and he was like, this works, you know. Methylfolate is a B vitamin that in recent years has been replaced with something called folic acid. That's what pregnant women are prescribed. If you have this particular gene mutation that about half the population do, not only do you not respond to folic acid, that you don't get any goodness from it, but you actually respond badly to it. It's bad for your body, right? So I stopped eating things that contained folic acid, bread, pasta, etc. I'm not saying that I've gone completely like bread free or anything like that. I get organic instead, that hasn't got the folic acid in it. But I started taking methylfolate, which is the methylated form of folate, and it's the natural form of folic acid. When I went for my blood test the other day, my folate levels were like off the scale, which is good. They should be. So, all right. So here's the thing. Go to your GP. Tell them, I'm feeling really tired and anxious and lethargic, and I suspect that I have either a deficiency or something to do with my thyroid, right? Get your blood tested, like your blood numbers, the volume, saturation, iron levels, ferritin levels. Get your nutrients tested, vitamin D, all the vitamins, right? Get your thyroid levels tested, okay? And your hormones, okay? I'm not going to go into hormones because that's not now that I'm pregnant. I kind of don't need to worry about that, but I'm sure I will do after I've given birth. But anyway, so your GP will give you your numbers. Ask the GP to have them printed off. And then you say thank you very much, and you walk out of the room, because your GP will say to you, all of these numbers are within normal range. You say thank you, I'll take that. Get on the internet and check what the optimal ranges are, okay? The normal range, that's code for you're not about to die anytime soon, or in any way that's going to link back to us not treating this nutritional deficiency. Therefore, you're okay, you haven't got deficiency, all right? That's what that means. It doesn't mean it's normal range. It means that you're not going to die, and it's going to be able to be linked to that, right? For example, my ferritin, which is iron stores, this is a massive one, right? I'll go into this in a minute, but so my ferritin level was 35. The UK GP normal range is, I think, 25 is the lowest, and it goes right up to 300 and something, okay? So I was right near the lower end, right? But then then the GP's like, that's fine, okay? So then when I've gone online and looked at, I'm on this Facebook group called the Iron Protocol, and they are saying you need your ferritin levels up to at least 100, right? So that's what I'm trying to do at the moment. So I'm getting breathless because I have an iron deficiency. I'm somebody who eats lots of red meat. I thought there can't be anything wrong with my iron, However, I was getting all the symptoms of an iron deficiency. Hair loss, breathing problems, which I've got. Getting too fatigued when I was doing exercise, insomnia. It was like end stages stuff, like insomnia, brain fog, not being able to think of words, stuff like that, very severe symptoms. I was still being told by my GP that everything was okay. Anyway, I now have the correct iron supplements, and I'm hoping to bring those ferritin levels up. So I'm just going to keep checking. I'm going to keep getting my bloods taken and just keep checking the number and making sure that it's going up. This is what we so need to educate ourselves about this stuff, right? But anyway, that's nutrition. There's Vitamin D, most people have a vitamin D deficiency. You can't absorb vitamin D properly without its cofactors, the things that are needed along with the vitamin D. Vitamins go into groups, right? You have vitamin D, you have K2, magnesium, zinc, all of that stuff. Like, just get it all tested and learn how to dose yourself properly. There are all different forms of vitamins. Find out which ones are the best. You have to do some work, but it is worth it, you know? TMG, if you try that, if it doesn't make you feel any better, you can try L-theanine is another amino acid, CoQ10, and what's that other one? 5-HTP. Now, I would try, get a list of all the different amino acids that you can take, all right? Try them all. I took L-theanine. That helped me to concentrate, but it gave me a bit of a foreboding feeling. I didn't like that one, so I didn't take that. 5-HTP, it helped me very much with my negative thoughts, but it disturbed my sleep, so I didn't take that one. TMG was the guy for me, so that's the one that I take, and it's, like I said, it's the difference between night and day in my anxiety levels. There will be an amino acid out there. If you think of amino acids are like nature's antidepressants, antipsychotics, anti-anxiety medication. What else do I have to say? I just know, before I started getting into supplementation and, you know, really zoning in on the way my body was working, the way my neurology was working, I was putting everything down to mental health, you know, trauma, this, that, and the other, and it, like, just was on and on and on an endless cycle, you know. Constantly craving cigarettes. This is what I was going to say about maca root as well. You know, the last sort of vice that I had was vaping, and it was like, I'm not giving up vaping, absolutely not, you know. And I just lost interest in it. No, for somebody who's got an addictive personality, who's very interested in all sorts of substances, to just lose interest in vaping, I just stopped it. That sort of, what's next, cravey, too much dopamine misfiring here, there, and everywhere, overthinking, blah, blah, blah. All that, it just stopped. And for me to just stop vaping like that's not nothing, that's significant, you know. If I'd have watched this video a couple of years ago, I'd have been thinking, I'm just so steeped in problems and anxiety, riddled with it, you know, riddled with mental health, riddled with, you know, personality disorders, anxiety, depression. An amino acid and a supplement is not going to make a difference. I understand, you know, I've come on a journey and I've been able to do this, and I've found a space to just breathe and go, okay, I'm more in touch with my body now I can start to do this stuff. But if you are at a stage where you're able to receive this information, or you're able to just do something that's going to help, that's not as urgent as, you know, going on antidepressant but to be honest with you, if you're thinking of going on an antidepressant, try TMG first. Research amino acids, check for iron deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies. If you're iron deficient, the big symptom of that is fatigue and depression. And when you're feeling like that, it affects your mind. You think that this going around in here is you. You really feel like that. You really think that. It's not true. It's an illusion. It's delusional. The things that I worried about, you know, a month or 2 months ago, before I started on the maca in particular and the TMG, when I think of those things now, I think, oh, yeah, I used to worry about that. Yeah, that's it. I'm not like invested in those things anymore. I'm not carrying them around as if they're my burdens when they're not, you know. You can still do your therapy, your mental health, all of that, but you know what? Why not just give yourself a little break from the fight or flight, the bodily feelings, the uncomfortableness? You know, just try some different things. There's loads of supplements out there. If you look on the British supplements website, they can't legally tell you what their supplements are for, but what they do instead, they have their customers give very detailed reviews. All right. There's all sorts of different mushrooms, adaptogens, all sorts of things. Read the customer reviews and you can find out what people are taking them for, you know. Give yourself a week or so, like get some samples, good quality ones, you know. Learn how to take supplements, when to take them. If you're taking iron, you need to take about 3 or 4 times as much as the recommended daily allowance to get your ferritin levels up, your iron stores to be functioning optimally, not just like borderline scraping along. You want to be optimum levels. Learn how to track your own blood numbers. Learn about amino acids and try some out. They work straight away. Like, you feel it straight away. You'll either like the feeling of it or not, or you won't feel anything. But, you know, and I'm somebody, all right, I've taken, you know, strong speed for ADHD. I like to feel whatever I put into my body. I like to feel it like a hit. And I'm saying to you, this maca root and this TMG, I feel it like an actual, like I can feel I've taken something, you know, and it's hasn't got any side effects. It feels healthy. It feels good in my body. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could talk about this for a long time. I'm very new to it, but I am such an advocate. Just, you know, just do a bit of research, you know, and let me know what you like to take as well. Reddit is a good place to read about people's experience. You know, it's good to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole with this and just sort of just experiment a little bit. We should be sort of getting back to being in contact with our own bodies and kind of knowing how our bodies work and why it's not optimal, you know. I was always somebody who, I could get away with anything. I could eat whatever I wanted. I could drink whatever I wanted, you know. I didn't need to take any supplements and I felt like full of vitality, you know. As I got older, it changed. It's like your body just can't, it just doesn't function in the same way anymore. It needs some help, you know. There's so many people, everybody, because I'm a bit of an evangelist now with this stuff, so I talk to people about it. Everybody who I've everybody who I've spoken to, even people who appear to be full of energy, full of vitality, they will always confide, yeah, you know, I just feel tired all the time. What is that? It's like, have you checked your iron, you know? Like, have you tried an adaptogen? Like, how is your body adapting to stress? Are you stressed? Like, it's not normal to be stressed. If there's something that's causing you stress, deal with it, sort it out. But if it's kind of like from an unknown source or like lots of different sources, you know, or you wake up in the morning, you feel okay, or like that, like last minute before you go to bed and you're relaxed at night, if there's peaks and troughs of stress in the day, that suggests that your stress is coming from kind of an undefined source. And it's because your body's not working properly. So you have to put things in there that's going to help it. Yes, anyway, I will shut up rambling now. So I would love to hear other people's experiences with miracle supplements or, you know, dietary choices or whatever. And yes, like I said, I'm not a doctor, and I'm also not an expert. So feel free to roast me in the comments if I've if I've said anything wrong. But hope you'll forgive me for that, because I'm just learning and I'm trying it out on my own body. So, you know, it's a learning curve, as they say. Okay, thank you, bye.